SK Telecom T1, paralyze.
You just feel like you can't move when you see him.
20 years old. Starting against his teammate. Cross position to the bottom left. Also 20 years of age. We have the Zerg player. It is.
SK Telecom T1 Su.
You think Paralyze keeps anything in his hair, like, you know, a spare mouse or something?
There's certainly enough space for something to live in there.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. He's like, ah, yeah, I forgot my mouse bungee. It's in here somewhere. He's just reached into his hair. He pulls it out. He's like, ah, yeah, there it is.
Just think about what would happen if you would borrow Scarlett's hair straightener and use it on him.
Oh, wow.
That would look really weird, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't even imagine. I mean, it wouldn't even end up being long hair like Goody or Sokka or anything like that. It would be like...
just be plain awkward.
It would just be strange. We're going to have a cannon opening here. Unfortunately, there's no hatch first, so Paralyze is like, ah, I should have gone Nexus first, but too bad.
Yeah. And, well, right now, let's talk a little bit about how those players ended up in the third round of Code A. Su, of course, he was in Code S. He went through the round of 32, the first group stage, by defeating Marine King. Sorry, not Marine King, but SO. He lost to SOS, but he won against Curious, and he won against Curious twice. That's how he was able to get into the round of 16, so especially in the CVZ, he really excelled. But then in the round of 16, he was not all that lucky. He had problems in Group D, the same group that Gumiho was playing. 3 Zerg players in total, and of course the 1 Terran player. Su this time losing to Kangho after winning against Symbol, and after losing to Symbol, so he lost both of his Zerg versus Zergs there. A very huge contrast to the first group stage that he had, and that's why we have him now in the third round of Code A. And on the other hand, Paralyze, he won his Code A qualifier bracket, won then against Bung Bung in the first round, won against Yu-Gi-Oh! In the second round, so he finds himself now in the third Zerg versus Protoss that he has to play in Code A.
Yeah, that's always really comfortable for you. You can always play the same matchup, even if then when you go and play in Pro League, you'll probably play that same matchup too because you're practicing for it. But not always, because you might not want to show your strategy. So there's a lot of different ways you can choose to move forward and what games you play, for example, in Pro League when you're in this situation. The Pro will block here, the Zerglings are not getting in there.
And usually when you play the same matchup over and over again, it is... Well, the problem with it is that your opponent has a lot of material that you can prepare with for the specific match, but I actually feel that it favors the player a little bit that has to play that third match in the same matchup, because your timings are just so much more crisp. You have so many maps that you have already prepared for, so many different timings to choose from and strategies that you feel very confident in your abilities to play this matchup. So that's something that I would feel gives a bit of an edge to Paralyze here, even though Su, of course, is the more experienced player when it comes to the GSL experience in particular.
I could not agree more. I'm wondering, you know, we're at cross positions here, so this may actually change up what Paralyze has planned. I expect that we will see Phoenix play, but not into gateway pressure, rather into just a faster robotics in a third. Just simply because doing that zealot pressure on a map like this at cross spawns is... Your probe is probably going to get scouted. In fact, the probe he sends out right now to check for a third has already been chased by a Ling. He's been tagged. So, he will see the third base.
Zealot moving out, and the Zergling, yeah, is trying to run a ring around Rosie around the Zealot. Just toying with him a little bit here.
Yeah, just being annoying. He gets a fast mothership core, so he doesn't even go straight into the tech.
Well, we've seen a lot of different play these days in Protoss versus Zerg. A lot of Protoss players trying to still go for double Immortal, double Colossi push. We've seen a lot of gateway aggression in the early game. There's of course always the fierce attack that you can execute with either Immortals or Archons and a lot of charge Zealots. That's very strong, or just mass Zealots if you want to hit it the timing with Immortals instead of the Archons.
He just showed, by the way, +1 to the Zergling, and then when the Zergling left, he cancelled it. So he's trying to play some tricks here against Su. And this is the type of thing that we were talking about earlier when you have a team match. Sometimes you can do some tricky things where now Su's like, I know that +1 build you do, but then he just goes to a fast third. Unfortunately, though, it's scouted immediately.
Yeah. But as you said, mind games are really important, especially when you're facing a teammate. These guys have been practicing against each other in the past, so them facing off against each other now will definitely mean that both of them will try to just surprise their opponents.
Yeah, the cat's out of the bag on that third base, and the Zealot here taking some heavy hits, but now that the Mothership Core's there, he has to be careful. He needs a target with his queens.
We have now a lair tech right away for Su, and a speed fall shortly afterwards. So the timing here allows him to... He has several things...
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, do you think he'll go for Hydras here? Because, I mean, he sees a fast third, and he's got a few options as you're about to go into it. I'd like to continue
well,
that. But
the thing with the fast third is that usually when there is such a fast third, you know that there's not going to be a Colossi push out early in the game. So you could potentially take a right to Hive and go into a Hydra and Viper composition. But it's not really all that common in Korea, it's more common in North America and Europe. I would like to see that, but I'm not quite sure. He has several options. He can either go into Mutalisks, he can go into the Hydralisks that you've been mentioning, or he could go for Swarm Hosts.
yeah, and right now Paralyze needs to be very careful with those Stalkers. The speed is getting closer to being finished. I like what he's trying to do here, but he has to know that very soon speed's going to be done. He might lose these Stalkers.
I love what he's doing here, just trying to be as aggressive as possible with the units that he has, and that's such a small investment to make. The Mothership Core is there, could recall out if need be. Of course, you want to save up the energy, but he's just trying to pressure a bit and baiting out those Zerglings. And for Su, this means also that Paralyze should be aware of the timing for speed, and therefore roughly aware that there is a faster lair coming his way.
Yeah, there's a Spire on the way, so it is going to be Mutalisks. And that'll really help him with all the links he's made and the speed he has. He's going to try to be aggressive at this third base when speed finishes, as it does now, and he's going to run over here. Tight wall, though, and with the Mothership there, I don't think he'll be able to get too much done.
You know, with the build that we have in the fourth base coming up, what Paralyze really could do is just mass Mutalisks right now. And we even have a Robotic Spay now coming up.
2 of them, in fact. So that's a mistake.
Yeah, building 2 at a time. And
we've seen this happen occasionally when someone forgets they make their bay.
I mean, what Su does right now is really just... Mutalisks are gonna rip him a new one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he has no idea what's coming. He
There
starts a
comes the Stargate. Okay, I like that we at least have a Stargate to give him a little bit more flexibility, and there comes the second one already. With double Stargate, okay, I like this a lot more right now. If he would really have committed to a massive amount of Colossi, he would have died. But now with the hallucination, he sees what's coming, he sees the Spire. The double Stargate is a really good thing to go for. But the timing is going to be a close one.
Yeah.
And Robotic Spay number 1 is completed, and he's not going to cancel the second one.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't realize. That's really unfortunate for him, but at least he saw the Spire. I was a little bit worried.
You know, he's tricking us. He's going for the Observer and the Warp Prism speed at once, both upgrades, and he's like, ta-da!
Oh, wow, this is a new build I've never seen before. I guess you can go for really fast snipes on the creep tumors with your fast Warp Prism and your fast Observer. You try to warp in a Zealot and just pick it up.
Yeah,
But
definitely a mistake.
Yeah, definitely a mistake. And he scouts the Spire, starts a ton of cannons and the Fleet Beacon, so he's really committing here.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. I mean, it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, he's hard countering the Mutalisks right now. Once you have the upgrade, you have the Anion Pulse Crystals, and you go straight into the double Phoenix production, you should be able to just completely level out those Mutalisks.
Yep. Mothership Core needs to get over here pretty soon, too, to make sure he can use that overcharge PU. Wants to keep the Mutas really at bay before his Phoenix count gets a little higher. Great micro so far, picks off a Muta.
What Paralyze has to do now is go into the Corruptors, and he is not afraid to fight this battle. If you go up against a Protoss player who has a lot of Phoenixes out because of a double Stargate, you want to have your Mutalisks and you want to have your Corruptors. The Corruptors keep the Phoenixes at bay, force them to engage or to just back off again, and the Mutalisks are trying to do the damage and yeah, trying to fly in the shadow of the Corruptors. Yeah.
As you can see, forces to cancel one of those gateways, just trying to be as annoying as possible, even forces out one of those, the Mothership Core to use its foot on overcharge.
The big advantage that Su has over Paralyze is that he has map control. He is still the one who dominates the engagements, who sets the pace, and that's why he can expand over and over again. He's already on 5 bases, and he's getting another one. And the only thing that he wants to do with those satellite bases at some point, at least for now, is getting gas.
Yep.
As long as he has that gas, he can get such a massive amount of Mutalisks and also Corruptors that it's going to be very difficult for for Paralyze to keep up on only 3 bases.
Exactly. For Paralyze, it's very difficult to switch techs at this point, whereas Su can start to go into Hive and has a lot of different options available. Once he clears out the Phoenixes, he can go back into Mutas. If he never kills the Phoenixes, he can switch to Roaches. He can do whatever he wants, really. I mean, I don't think we'll see a switch to Roach, but it's something that Paralyze is going to have to continually scout, and it's very hard for him to afford switching tech.
We have now an Infestation hit, and oops, he should turn around and start to fight those, and that's exactly what he does. Needs to make sure that he has a good positioning here, and that's exactly what's very, very important, that you control your Mutalisk and the Corrupt as well. Denies another base, very important here for Paralyze.
Yeah, no cancel on that base either. He has a lot of minerals, so I guess he's probably not too sad about that, but it's, you know, something to think about.
Yeah, I keep mixing the players up because our overlay is wrong. We have the colors wrong in the overlay, unfortunately. So that is a bit of a thing that we have to fix later on. But for now, yeah, of course, the Zerg player is playing here in red, and it is Su and the Protoss player in blue.
Yep, Guardian Shield goes up here. His Phoenixes are out of position. He's taken out a few of those units. The Phoenix is there, but a little bit too late now, and there's enough Corruptors to turn around and fight.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. Always use Corruption and then deal with those Phoenixes when you can. And we have now Blink and all these upgrades coming up for Su, and I love the second Spire. I was going to talk about this in just a second. Double Spire on this many bases makes so much sense.
Yeah, you can really afford it.
Exactly, you can go for the double upgrades, and there's no reason not to. If you have the better economy, you can win with this composition. You can go for a massive amount of Mutalisk and Corruptors, and then you have the better upgrades as well. Look how well he can snipe and fight against those Phoenixes.
He's just being so flexible. He also gets Infestors out now with Pathogen Glands. He's only taking the gases at that satellite base, as you were saying earlier. And with all of this, he's building a bank, and he can get these upgrades. He doesn't even have to commit to them, but they're always going to be there for him to fall back to. And he continues to force cancels on that Nexus, and he may even be able to do it again in just a moment.
Now that we have Blink coming up for Paralyze, the ratio is really important. If the Protoss player suddenly warps in a fair amount of Stalkers, then you need to have the right ratio with Mutalisk that you can fight against them. But for now, what's the most crucial part here are those Infestors that we have. One good Fungal, and suddenly all those Phoenixes will go down. So Paralyze has to be very, very careful.
Yeah. Getting that Carapace upgrade now at the second Spire. And the Nexus does survive this time. The Ling's trying to find out if there's a fifth one, but the fourth looks like it's definitely going to be held now with all these cannons and the Zealots warping, and he can't do anything against that.
But the bank is so huge for Su at this point. He has 1,300 minerals, he's maxed out, he's moving in, he's taking apart the first few Stalkers, a few presents here by Paralyze, and he can just move in at any point.
And the Infestors hit a Fungal on a few of those Phoenixes!
Unbelievably, just missed the Fungal, but he catches another two. If he would have caught all of them, every Phoenix would have died, but there were so many of them already down.
Yeah. I mean, that was really well done by Su. It was definitely a trap, as you could see. He tried to bait the Phoenixes in. He had the Infestor on the way. And he's just really playing tennis with Paralyze right now, keeping his Stalkers in one place, picking off a few Stalkers, sending his Lings into the mineral line again, then drawing those forces back, and then trying to hit those Fungals.
I'm personally very surprised that we don't see more attempted Zealot run-bys with all the resources that Paralyze has.
Yeah.
There's so many bases to the left side. He could try to sneak in Zealots there, but now we suddenly have Su committing. He's going into the third base, trying to do damage. There are a lot of units that he has to take care of first, especially shield those Infestors against the Zealots.
Yeah, and you know, again, the Phoenixes are out of position. He's just not his map aware. He's not able to know where the Phoenix is going to be. A good Fungal goes down. He does not get the second one. And this is Su just continuing to build that gas bank and trading efficiently because he has the better economy, he has the better gas income, and he knows that there's no way that Paralyze is going to take a fifth Nexus right now.
And he doesn't stop, he goes into Hive, and he goes into Hive Tick because he wants to have +3/+3. That's his main reason right here. He can, of course, also then later on, if need be, go into Vipers, if he needs Abduct, if he needs Blinding Cloud, which is not the case right now. But there are so many options for him. And once his air army has 3/3, the Protoss player is going to be in even more trouble than he is already.
And Su constantly has the Watchtower. He just lost it, but he saw the Nexus going up. So now he can go over and try to take it. Oh my god, chain Fungal on those.
And now it's the big problem. What are you going to do as a Protoss player? Another Fungal hits home and catches 4 additional Phoenixes. The Phoenix number are dwindling. And Su, he has a shot of taking this game right now. Paralyzed, he needs Storm, he needs something, more Blink Stalkers, but he just doesn't have the resources.
Exactly, he doesn't have the resources, he doesn't have anything, he can't even make Archons. And I think this is going to be game. He doesn't even go for that fifth base. He ignores it, sends just a few Lings over there.
He's just moving in right now, and he doesn't even care too much about the Nexus Cannon. He does not have to fight there. He can always just jump back and attack the natural, which is exactly what he does. This is such a bad position for Paralyze.
And he already has the Spine Crawlers up to defend against his bases, with the Zealots coming in way too late. The base to the north was just killed. No cancel. He was killed by infested Terrans.
And this is such a smart play by Su. I really feel that Paralyze should have tried to use those Zealot run-bys that he's now executing a little bit earlier in the game. That would have helped him. But once the economy of Su got this much out of control, there was just no way for him anymore.
And with all the pressure from the Mutalisk, he wasn't able to really switch into Templar. This is a massive Zealot run-by in the main. He's going to get both Spires, it looks like. But will it matter? I'm not so sure.
I mean, now we're talking with the run-by and the harass. But the big problem, as you already said, is it's too little too late. At this point, his natural is already falling. He lost way too much. The main base is open. The Zerg player can just attack again. Even if he loses his tech, which he will, he's just going to rebuild it. And we see double Spire once more on the production tab.
That's when you know you have a good economy, when you can just remake a double Spire instantly.
Yeah, you still have 4,000 minerals and 2,800 gas. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like no big deal. Making those is like making 4 mutas. It's no big deal at all.
Oh, wait, I'm losing all my units. Well, I can build 30 mutalists.
Yeah, this is game here for Paralyze. He's trying to warp in more Stalkers, and there's nothing else he can do. He can blink away here, yeah, maybe, but for how long is he going to run away with those?
He will never be able to really trade cost efficiently because he has not the resources to warp in enough units. And as you can see, everything is just dying here.
Everything is corrupted by the Corruptors as well. He doesn't hesitate to do that. So many probes going down.
The Zealot's still doing a little bit of damage, but that's basically it. Now the 4th base and 3rd will be overrun, and this is GG.
GG, and